Good day. So much has happened since we last were together. That was in January, before the elections, and elections have come and gone. So much talk about it at the level of the councils, at the level of the National Assembly, and at the level of the Constitutional Council. But we can't wind back the clock. I'm sure you were following that on the regular media and elsewhere. Today, we'd like to talk about part of the consequences of what we witnessed at the level of the polls. That's the municipal elections and the council elections. So much is being talked about why the quarreling over the election of mayors, and at the level of the Constitutional Council, a new map has been drawn for members of parliament. We'll comment on that, but we'll put our finger on the election rerun, which has been declared in the Northwest and Southwest region. Never have we had so many constituencies being called back, but that was as a result of the decision of the Constitutional Council. So we'll focus on that. To do that with me on the program this midday, we have Honorable Joseph Mbandam. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You were also barrister for the Social Democratic Front.
Obviously.
And at the Supreme Court, the Constitutional Council. We have Barrister Fombat Mujem. You're welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we have Professor Elvis Ngole. You're welcome.
Thank you.
He was also defending the CPDM. We are inviting him here not as a university professor, but a representative of the CPDM, because he was an eyewitness to all what was happening at the Constitutional Council.
Together with Honorable Mandam.
Exactly. I saw you people shake hands at one point.
We shook hands as brothers.
Yes. We're still waiting for Stephen Ojong, who will be joining us in the course of the program. But let's see what the papers we're writing on this week with our press review. Emanuela Vemnui.
The recent utterances of French President on Cameroon took the media by storm. Cameroon Tribune headlines on how surprised the presidency was, and through a communique from the General Secretariat of the Presidency, government condemned the allegations of the activist while calling on Cameroonians to remain calm. To Cameroon Insider, President Macron's disparaging remarks caused nationwide indignation. But to the Guardian Post, Macron vows to give Biya marching orders to resolve crisis in Northwest and Southwest. Yet in the eye of the Post, Macron humiliates Biya government, says he orders for Kamto's release. The Voice writes, Macron unveils French-African puppetry. To the Horizon, Francophone activists elicit Macron's promise to phone Biya over Anglophone crisis. Then the Constitutional Council opens hearings of litigations of legislative elections on Cameroon Tribune, as Cameroon Insider brings to the fore the cancellation of polls in 17 constituencies of the Northwest and Southwest regions. The Guardian Post sees fresh hopes for SDF as elections in Boimomo, Menchum, Mezam, Lebialem and Nord. Breaking News Bileng also reports on election rerun before touching on the Garbo incident. It writes, after the Ndu Holocaust 1992, cry Ngarbu. The Guardian Post writes, after the Ngarbu massacre, PCC moderator urges international mediation to end killings in Northwest and Southwest. But the Star takes interest in the Bishop of Kumbo that decried the shocking Ngarbu incident, while Christians prayed for the souls of the deported victims. The installation of the Archbishop of the Bamenda Archdiocese flood newspaper columns this week. The Star writes, Archbishop Dr. Andrew Fuanyankeya takes command. To Cameroon Insider, Monseigneur Nkeya takes seat as Archbishop of Bamenda. The Voice takes interest in the crowds that witnessed Monseigneur Andrew Nkeya's induction in Bamenda. Then Andrew Nkeya installed as Bamenda Archbishop on the horizon. To the Post, Archbishop Nkeya takes canonical possession of Bamenda Metropolitan See. Then Godlove Gapsuguin and Tata Karine triumph, winning male and female categories respectively of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope 2020 edition on the Star, Cameroon Insider and Guardian Post newspapers. Just when the Golden Book of Cameroon football available on Cameroon Tribune, to Cameroon Insider, Sopecam documents 60 years of Cameroon football. The election of Achombang, Motanga and Tafam as pioneer city mayors of Bamenda, Limbe and Bafusa, the abduction of the new deputy mayor and council staff for Meme, the launch of activities for the International Women's Day in Kribi Ocean Division by the Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family, the Fundong IDP's tales of Fulani attacks in Koshing also form stories reported by the papers. Let's now end our press review with this cry from the publisher of the Guardian Post, Christian Ga Christian, who says government and separatists want his head. According to Mr. Nga, the lone English daily The Guardian Post is paying a huge price for its middle-of-the-road editorial policy and for being widely read in Cameroon. Until I come your way again, this is your hour with the press.
Thank you, Emanuela. Let me begin with you, Honorable Bandam. We followed in the papers the election which took place, and the councillors in the different council areas went ahead and were selecting their mayors. But the one big problem is that it wasn't easy selecting mayors. I know the Social Democratic Front wasn't as lucky, but you're a keen observer of the national scene. What would you say is the reason for the wranglings among councillors in the selection process?
Let me first say that we are absent from that process virtually because we had very few councils and we had no wranglings.
Where you have councils?
Yes, we had no wranglings because our procedures permit us decide in advance who becomes what.
It means the party also has a hand in deciding.
The party has a hand in deciding who becomes what.
Okay, I'll skip Barrister Mujem and come to you. If he says what he says, but you, your situation is different. I mean, at the level of the CPDM, you have so many councils, 316 councils, and you have so many problems as well selecting the mayors.
Yes.
Why?
Yes, I think the problems are a reflection of the dynamism of the militants and the fact that these militants think that if you are dynamic, it justifies having ambition to be something. And I think the convergence between the dynamism of the militants and the ambitions to be something is what has created these wranglings. But what makes the difference is that the Central Committee of the CPDM, through the circular letter of the Secretary General of the Central Committee, has set rules. Through that circular, there are rules as to how the councillors who are CPDM militants who have been elected have to behave and the procedures they have to follow in the election of mayors and the assistants. And the tendency and why the wrangling is that the militants in their dynamism sometimes ignore or fail to understand that we all must submit to party discipline. And party discipline means respect for the text, respect for the secular, and so sometimes
respect of authority.
Respect of authority.
Now, when you respect authority, you will that not because what I understand, reading through some of the writings, is that the followers of the party are not giving a hearing. They don't to choose the persons they want to choose to head the councils. Maybe from experience, or maybe because they don't like the party choice.
Yeah, no, generally speaking, the party as a democratic party, as a people's party, has tended, even if you read the circular, to allow the militants to exercise their freedom to elect whom they want to elect. Generally, the party has tried to democratize as much as possible by making sure that the choice and the decision comes from the people. So in the case of the election of mayors, the laws, the electoral code and the regulations, the text of the party say, and the circular of the Senate Committee say, it is the militants who have been elected councillors who have the powers and the freedom to elect their mayors and their assistants.
Why does the party hierarchy make proposals?
Generally speaking, from what I know,
they don't make proposals.
From what I know, the party avoids.
They just give criteria
they
on
give the criteria,
who can be.
Yeah, democratic criteria, and they allow the militants who have been elected councillors to exercise their freedom to elect their mayors and their assistants. Perhaps there are cases or instances where, as you say,
disrespect of party instructions.
But generally speaking, from what I know, out of these 316 or 317 councils that the CPDM has won, it is the councillors who have, and the party is quite at ease with that. The Central Committee is at ease because it is a democratic party.
Even in situations where they have violated party instructions?
If they violate party instructions, I think that the party has procedures to make sure that they correct that situation. Okay.
Barrister Mujem, when you listen to him and listen to Honorable Bandam says that they don't have, but I remember what happened in Tuba Council some 6-7 years ago when...
That's a long time ago.
Okay. So you've changed from that situation.
You know the consequences of that.
Okay. And he carried your party away, or victory away, maybe?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, what would you say about what's happening?
No, well, the first remark I'll make is that I heard Honorable Madam say that the party decides in advance who should be, which means the party still also has a say in who becomes who. But I think that we want to look at the electoral code. The provisions of the electoral code are clear. By indirect suffrage, which means they are the elected councillors who have received the mandate of the population to choose a mayor that reflects the aspiration of the electorate, not the aspirations of the party. It's true, a political party is like an organization that has its binding rules and regulations which must be respected, but none of those rules must violate the law. And if the law says councillors are the ones to choose, to decide on who is mayor, then councillors and only councillors alone must decide who is mayor.
Or should I say, must be given the freedom to choose who should be.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, when you say what you say, when you watch what has been happening in Marwa, in Douala, in the central region, and almost all over the country, and you see that the party gives directives, but the people say, that's not what we want. What would you say in that?
Yeah, I think, like I said, Prof just said that it is a result of the dynamism in the party, which maybe is true. But what I'm saying is that the councillors, elected councillors, are becoming legally conscious of their rights, because they know that if you vote against party instruction, you have not violated any law.
Okay.
You have not violated any law if you vote against party.
Just that the consequence might be waiting for you somewhere.
Some consequence, you might have some consequence, indirect consequences later on. But if you vote according to your directive, if you vote according to your conscience and not party directive, you have not violated any law. But it's true, maybe you might now be booked. Look into you might be booked in the bad books of the party.
Okay.
But again, you reiterate, you have not violated any law. You have done just what the law provides for.
Is it true that in most cases you want to compensate maybe the big payers of the party when you give directives, say we want this person or that person?
The point is this: a political party is not run under national laws. Political parties have their constitutions, their structures and procedures. One of the principles for which I have stood all along is that it can be vote, yes, but there come a time when the party sits back to see from amongst all those who have been voted who is best suited to play what role. And this has been the principle of investiture within the SDF.
Now, when you say what you say...
Listen,
yes.
When we shall have allowed the population to express their universal suffrage, the political party gets back into a caucus to assign roles to be played by some members of those who have been elected, have been chosen by the people.
Now, what if the roles you assign are not what the people want?
It is often not, it cannot be 100% perfect, because the roles assigned are also after a thorough investigation. If you have one or two cases that depart from the positions taken by the party, that does not negate the rule.
Okay, for once you agree with the CPDM.
No, I'm not agreeing with him. Because you started by saying that there was wrangling.
Yes.
Wrangling equates chaos. So we do not permit of chaos.
I say for once you have agreed on that.
Well, I'm not agreed.
No, that's just what is happening. It's just that you don't have many more councils
you said
this
there
time
was
around.
wrangling. If there is wrangling, that we do not admit of chaos. If there is an investiture in accordance with the rules and principles of a political party, we don't expect wrangling. There may be a few exceptions, but that will not negate the rule.
Okay.
As we wanted to go 7 years back, we had 1 or 2 cases and they were punished.
Yes. And the party too has faced the consequences of punishing.
It's not facing. It's a question of discipline and principle.
Parties don't avoid wrangling because the party
it's
rules,
always there.
Yeah.
It's always there. Now, I'd like us to talk slightly.
What is always there? Wrangling?
Yes.
Because be careful with your words.
Of course.
There's no wrangling.
There's
no wrangling within the ranks and files of the SDF.
No, you can't say that.
There's no wrangling. I said the few exceptions do not
confirm
negate
the rule. Maybe.
Of course, it confirms the rule.
Yes.
Rather. So it does not negate the rule.
Okay. All right. I would want us to hang on that since you have just one council. And maybe we would not want to go about 6-7 years back. But like us to talk about something else where you are involved now. Now, this has to do with the new political configuration. Given what the Constitutional Council declared the other day, what do you make of the reading? 8 parties in Parliament this time around, CPDM 139, many more opposition parties, all put together, they have 28 seats in Parliament.
I want to reserve my comment in that regard.
Okay.
After the rerun, if there would be, we will now determine how many people are in Parliament.
Okay.
You are too much in a rush.
No, not in a rush. We are reading what we have in front of us.
For the time being.
Yes, for the time being.
You better read what has been annulled.
Okay, we'll come to that.
Okay.
So you reserve your comments on the other one. You have a right to. Yeah. Now, I'll shift the question to you, Barrister. Your own reading of what has happened at the level of the National Assembly, the new political map, the way it's drawn. Call it a pie chart, you can have a pie chart or pie chart, whatever, but the way it is.
Yes, well, as a lawyer, I think that I will look at what the Constitutional Council proclaims as results, because they are the only organ that has the right to proclaim results. And once they have proclaimed results, then those are the results, so be it. So today, we have the partial constitution of the National Assembly that maps out and brings out and carves out CPDM as the major
political player.
Yeah, the major political player. Like I said, that is as per the results of the Constitutional Council, and will not have to look at any other results. So it is interesting that if I have to put on a political coat, I will also say it's sometimes good to have new faces in Parliament, because we have always been clamoring that it is good to have change. Let us give opportunities to others. When you get new blood injected, it is most likely that you might be able to see some change. So that is how I look at it.
Okay.
I know you're Barrister Fong, but there's no doubt that as a democracy, you need always, whenever you get new faces, it makes democracy that much healthier. And as your Honorable Mandam said, we still have 11 constituencies where...
But that won't change very much.
Yeah, there are 13 seats that are at play here, because what has been proclaimed involves a total of 167 seats. So you still have, for the 11 constituencies, 13 seats that are available for these reruns, 12 in the Northwest and 1 in the Southwest. And I have no doubt. I mean, as a Democrat, that
I don't want us to go to that yet. We'll come to that. But
okay.
I want you to read the political map. The crushing majority of the CPDM, maybe new faces coming in, the same old song in the same parliament, or what?
Well, I tell you what, the CPDM party, as a democratic party, is quite happy to see democracy evolve and move forward, and is open enough, humble enough, and faithful enough to like to see other political forces come in and the older political forces to do better. So we are happy to know that 8 political parties have now come in this new map. 3 that have never been there before, even though 2 have dropped out, as you know, the UPC and the CRM have dropped out, but again, this is their fault. But we're happy to see that from 6 political parties in Parliament, we have 8 now. And while the seats have been distributed in a way that establishes the dominance of the CPDM as a result of the hard work, we believe that with the reruns that are to take place, the other political parties such as the SDF are likely to do better than they've done so far. And that map might change a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that, because we are of the view that democracy is healthy when other political forces work together with the others in order to build the nation. Because at the end of the day, the finality of democracy is to build the nation, to make the nation stronger. So we are quite at ease with the decision that was taken by the Constitutional Council, because we believe that is the authoritative source.
We'll come to that
matters
decision
of election
shortly.
And we hope that our friends of the other political parties, such as the SDF and so forth, will do better than has been proclaimed so far, and we'll continue working together. I mean, we've been working together since the 1990s, when I, as a member of the CPDM team, in the negotiations between the CPDM and the SDF, we worked together quite well. There was always good camaraderie, and there has continued to be.
So people have been negotiating behind the scenes?
You know, there were negotiations. I'm sure that Honorable Bandam will tell you that in the 1990s, we did, there was
quite some negotiations.
The negotiations between the CPDM and the SDF.
Okay.
They didn't result in
what you wanted.
Something, but I think that we continue to see each other in good faith, and we continue to talk because at the end of the day, we need each other to move democracy and to move the nation forward.
Okay.
And I know we share this value together.
Yes, you've been talking a little bit much more. Yeah. How would you see the presence of 7 other political parties in Parliament? Does that translate the dynamism of our democracy?
Normally, it should translate the dynamism of democracy. Like I said, if one party does not have that crushing majority, I think it tells you that there is competition on the field. But when one party has a crushing majority, like the CPDM, it is a little bit worrying. Like I said, I found interesting the line of thought of Professor, where he said he is wishing the 13 seats remaining, he's wishing the SDF better, that he'll be able to grab more seats. He is not wishing his party to grab those seats because his party has already the crushing majority.
That sounds interesting, not so?
So, but I think the main factor we're having more parties in Parliament, because it is important. We need diverse ideas. 2 people are always better than 1. 3 are always better than 2. 5 are always better than 4. So the more the more parties we have in Parliament, I think the more we can have some ideologies that will go to the interest of the population. I mean, our main goal is to get the country ahead, is to forge the country ahead. And the more we diversify our ideas, I think the better the chance will stand to pick and choose the best.
It looks like the CPDM would want to have a dominant majority, but give you positions that can help them.
Yes, I agree that
to handle you.
Yes, you know that it is a mockery. If in a democracy one party has 99% of the vote, it's a mockery of the democratic system. It's actually a mockery of the democratic institution. When when the majorities are relative or the approach is other, it at least tells us that on the field there was competition. But if you have one very crushing majority, it would appear there's something wrong. Maybe there was no competition on the field, or one party is actually well implanted to the detriment of the others.
But they were the only party that ran in all the constituencies.
There you're talking. So you see why it is normal that they come up with a crushing majority.
Okay.
So now, yes.
No, you said you didn't want to comment. I'll give you the opportunity to comment later when we get to what was decided at the Constitutional Council.
No, he said he didn't want to comment on the number, but now maybe he has an idea.
So
maybe he has something.
Pride yourself in saying that the numbers have increased when people have 2, 3 parliamentarians as political parties. Do you pride yourself in believing that there is a level playing ground for these elections? I reserve my comments. When I reserved my comments, it was simply because I wanted to let you come to the point
I'm
that the
going
Northwest
there.
and Southwest.
I'm going there.
did not
Let's have this report
participate in this
on
election.
the activities at the Constitutional Council on Friday, the 28th of February, which gave the opportunity to Cameroonians to know who was elected where and who occupies what seat in Parliament.
The solemn ceremony to proclaim the results of the last February 9 legislative election witnessed the presence of the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Joseph Dion Gute, top government officials, members of the diplomatic corps, as well as representatives of some political parties. The President of the Constitutional Council, Clement Atana, opened the 2.5-hour ceremony by reading out Article 48 of the Constitution of Cameroon, which authorizes them to ensure the regularity of elections and proclaim the results. Describing the parliamentary election as free, transparent and credible, given that the exercise unfolded in serenity and respect of the legislation in force, the Constitutional Council boss, however, regretted the rather low turnout of voters. He hailed the contribution of Elections Cameroon, the Ministry of Territorial Administration, the media and other actors for working in synergy with the Council to enhance Cameroon's democratic process. The different members of the legal structure then took turns to present the detailed results from the 10 regions. According to statistics presented by Clement Atana, over 6,400,000 Cameroonians registered on the electoral roll. 2,900,000 effectively voted, with 79,000 void ballot papers registered and close to 3,500,000 absent, giving a 45.98% participation rate. The ruling CPDM grabbed the first position with 139 seats, followed by the NUDP with 7 seats and the SDF with 5. A new name in the House is the PCRN of Karabalibi with 5 seats, the CDU 4, the FSNC of Isachiruma Bakari 3, the MDR 2, while UMS will also have 2 representatives in Parliament. A total of 167 parliamentarians for now, while waiting for the rerun to get the names of the remaining 13 members of Parliament.
Okay, let's move on to Honorable Mbandam now. Time for you to talk and talk maybe extensively. What does the ordering of the rerun mean to you? You were part of the defense of your party and the decisions that ensued.
The first thing I have kept saying is that the Constitutional Council has taken note of the fact that elections did not take place in the Northwest and Southwest regions. I'm comforted about that, because for those number of constituencies to have been annulled, these were only limited to those that presented petitions. If we had succeeded in presenting petitions throughout the Northwest and Southwest regions, a lot more would have been annulled.
Maybe.
A lot more, because all that we presented, why don't you draw conclusions as they come?
Okay.
All that we presented went through.
Now, why didn't you present for the others?
Because we were unable within 72 hours to present the petitions all over the place. Okay. The answer is clear.
All right.
So,
now, I'll come
out of the number that were presented, they were annulled. Ex hypothesi, if we had presented in all, they would have been annulled. Because the fact remains that elections did not take place in the Northwest and Southwest regions. And you can even confirm this by looking at some of the results that were read as having been won. You should have seen the percentage participation and to come to the conclusion that all the soldiers voted.
Okay. What's your reading of the decision of the Constitutional Council as a barrister at law?
As a barrister at law, the law is clear. The Constitutional Council is enshrined with the power to judge the validity or the effectiveness of voting. And the law says once the Constitutional Council is convinced that certain irregularities affected the outcome of the results, which means if those irregularities were not there, the result would have been different. The Constitutional Council is called upon to annul. So I think that the constituencies that the Constitutional Council annulled elections, they are because from the petitions that were presented and the facts and evidence, it is clear that external factors influence the outcome of or could influence the outcome of the results because there was no proclamation for those areas. Now, Honorable said that we have just 13 constituencies because petitions were tabled only for those 13 11 constituencies. Well, the Constitutional Council does not initiate election dispute. They only entertain petitions as they come. So if you don't bring a petition, then so be it. And again, I think that we have a problem with our position in this country because why will the party not be able to present petitions everywhere? If they see there's a single irregularity anyway, they should have done everything to petition in all the places where they thought that way. The law says 72 hours. It is true. It is a bad law, but it is a law.
No.
A Democrat is somebody who respects a bad law while seeking to change it. I understand that 72 hours maybe is too short, but it is a law for the time being. Until the code is changed, we have to go by that.
Okay. When you hear them speak, I'll come back. Okay.
You said you were going to give me 10 minutes.
Yes. No, we go around and come back to you.
No, but the point is that we were unable to present. The reasons are the same as because an election could not have taken place. The ground zero that we all know is not amenable to getting facts from anywhere. There was no way for me to have reached Indian, for example, with the Amber Boys all over the place to collect facts and present genuine petitions. But the fact that the very few which we presented went through says something to you. And I say that the Constitutional Council has vindicated us because before the election we said that elections would not normally hold in the Northwest and Southwest. And the few places where we were able to present petitions resulted in cancellations. What reading do you make of that?
No, it's me to ask you that question. But I'll come back to you. But
maybe you should ask him.
No. Let me ask you, apparently from what they say, the CPDM should be lucky that they didn't present, that the opposition did not present petitions in all the constituencies in the Northwest and Southwest. They wouldn't have had what they are having today, maybe. From those two regions? No,
the CPDM, first of all, is legalist, and the CPDM is realistic. The reading of the CPDM is that the Constitutional Council, in counseling elections in the 11 constituencies, 12,
10 in the Northwest,
10 in the Northwest and 1 in the Southwest, established that elections took place in all the 10 regions of the country, but that in the 11 constituencies, 10 in the Northwest and 1 in the Southwest, there were irregularities, or they established that from the standpoint of the law, following the petitions that were presented by the SDF party, that the elections had to be rerun there. I think from a legal standpoint, from the standpoint of the law, my reading is that the Constitutional Council is right, was right, and it is right.
No,
and our party, being a legalist party, has no reason to question or to criticize, because we believe in the institutions and we believe in the law, and we think that the fact that they took the decision to cancel the elections in these 11 constituencies does not mean or does not say that they established that the elections did not take place or that there were no elections in the Northwest and Southwest. No, because the Northwest and Southwest have more than 11 constituencies. And in the other constituencies of the Northwest and Southwest, the elections, the results stood and stand. That tells you that no one would read that to mean that elections did not take place throughout the Northwest and Southwest, because the Northwest and Southwest are part and parcel of the nation and part and parcel of the state.
So you should be happy that they were not cancelled in all of the constituencies in the Northwest and Southwest, right?
Obviously, we would have been surprised if they were cancelled in all of the Northwest and Southwest or in other places. But don't forget that there were other constituencies for which the SDF made petitions, and the Constitutional Council established that the petitions were not admissible, and they didn't
entertain them.
They didn't entertain them.
Okay.
I think it was one of them was Fako, one of the Fako constituencies. So it just tells you that the Constitutional Council, again in its authority as the constitutional source of authority in matters of electoral law, has established that elections take place all throughout the 10 regions of Cameroon. But that, from the standpoint of the law, as presented through the petitions, in these 11 constituencies, which total about 13 seats, there were irregularities from the legal standpoint, and they thought the election should be run there. And we think they are right.
Did you feel bad at one point?
No, we are in our party, you know, as I said, we believe in institutions, we believe in the law, and we believe that you have to have faith in the institution. These men and women who are members of the Constitutional Council are men of the law, like Honorable Mbanda Miss and as Barrister Fombadis. These are men and women of the law. They have integrity, they have credibility. And the institution of the Constitutional Council is an institution of credibility. We believe in that institution, and so we cannot quarrel with the decision that has been taken, especially since we know that in that decision will make democracy healthier, because other political parties who are our friends, after all, we are not enemies, we don't fight each other. We think that the other political parties
maybe they will not be able to monopolize everything this time around.
No, I would be surprised if they will get all the 13 seats. I'm sure Honorable Bandam would be happy for me to say they should grab all the 13 seats. But I would have my doubts.
Okay,
because I want to tell you that we have very dynamic militants of the CPDM in the Northwest especially, as you know. They are very dynamic, and they are ready. I'm sure Honorable Bandam is quite used to them. The militants of the CPDM in the Northwest are one of the most dynamic militants that the CPDM has got in Cameroon.
Okay.
They are very dynamic.
Yeah, Honorable Bandam, maybe this is an opportunity for your party to rewrite its name.
What's the opportunity?
The cancellation. Yes.
I've told you that the decision of the Constitutional Council vindicates our position that it was practically impossible for elections to take place in the Northwest and Southwest regions.
Even if you don't win the rerun?
Are you sure there will be a rerun?
Why not?
Have you finished the issue of the Amber Boys? Have you done that?
The state,
please.
That's the responsibility of the state.
There is a question, yes, in fact, I'm happy you say it's the responsibility of the state. That is why we are preparing for the election. But I want to hope that they will be able to carry out a free and fair electoral exercise, and that they shall resolve the issues that plagued the recently annulled elections.
So
I don't, please, let us not be flowery over nothing.
Yes.
There is war in the Northwest and Southwest regions. There is war. We are just talking about a number of people who were abducted. My very honorable colleague here was chased away from his constituency. No, he's not an honorable colleague. No, that's how I decided to address him.
Okay.
He is as honorable as I see him, but he was chased away from his constituency. Let this be known. So there's no gainsaying. And I said I'm happy the Constitutional Council vindicated the SDF for saying that the president should not have permitted elections to take place in the Northwest and Southwest regions in the circumstances that we find ourselves.
Okay. Yes. The way he puts it and the way the things are going, this is the first time we are having cancellation in as many constituencies as 11. What does that say to you as a legal luminary?
Yes, as I keep on saying, the Constitutional Council has the inherent power to appreciate if certain vices alter the expected results of elections. So if they see that in the 11 constituencies, as per the petitions that came to them, the conditions did not permit a true reflection of the choice of the people, it's a reason why it was cancelled. But my question and my worry is at this point, Article 135 of the Electoral Code Sub 2 says that when the Constitutional Council pronounces its ruling, there must be a rerun between 20 and 40 days. So I'm asking this rhetoric question. The conditions that cause the election to be annulled, are we going to be able to repair it, to fix it within 40 days? If we have a rerun, are we going to come back, because the law says that every person who is not, those who are authorized to petition can petition each time there's an election, which means even after the rerun, there will still be room for petition. And if the conditions are the same, then we might see the Constitutional Council annulling and annulling and annulling. So that is where my worry is as a lawyer.
Let me put it this way.
You wait until when it comes, and then you can now, because it's not, there's another body that handles your preoccupation.
Let me put it further this way. What if the conditions worsen? There is what we call in law force majeure, acts of God. When we legislators voted the electoral code, we did not foresee war in some part of the country. So you must take note about that. What if the war aggravates? If you hear that there's a state of true genocide and that more people are killed more than those in Gambu, will you respect the period of 20 to 40 days? Will a normal government endanger and jeopardize the lives of its populations?
No,
these are questions to be answered.
What if the situation
and the answers
improves?
are blowing in the wind.
Yes, what if the situation
then
improves?
The whole thing will come back and we will win all, because we have always won all. You cannot understand that in Batibu, I had election to play and I had 12.
Maybe you don't represent your people again.
How?
Let me add by saying that.
How is that? Out of 418 votes in an 18,000 register. Does it make sense? The second said we are not talking about irregularities that the Constitutional Council took. They took also account of illegalities.
Okay. Now let me ask you:
Can you far more than irregularities?
Yes. Can you put your finger on what guided the Constitutional Council to take the decision they took?
These people sat down and conceived something called polling centers.
These people are who?
Those are the Elecam. These people. There are many more.
People?
Please, the administration.
That sounds interesting.
There are many people. Because for you to have come to set a polling center, for example, Santa, which is 533 square kilometers, you give it one polling center at the headquarters of this of Mezam South, and that people from 533 square kilometers have to walk there and vote there. And at the same time, the Minister of Territorial Administration signed a decree prohibiting movement. That is a total illegality. And of course, that has been resolved. I hope that by this time around...
You're talking and commenting at the same time. I just wanted you to...
I have given you that far.
Let me also say it's not only an illegality, it's an irregularity also.
Barrister, can you
of the law.
Yes, make up for... What guided the Constitutional Council to take the decision which they took in cancelling the elections, besides what he has said? That is the creation of polling centers which did not permit people to effectively vote since they had to travel long distances. Yes, were there other decisions that guided the Constitutional Council?
No, I think that is basically that is the main...
The key issue.
Yeah, the key issue. But like you said, Honorable said he doesn't know on what basis Elecam did what they did, but the law on Elecam gives them the latitude to be able to do an internal organization to favor transparent, free and transparent elections. Maybe in doing that they went to excesses. Maybe because, like you said, if on voting day there is a circular that prohibits movement and then polling centers are put hundreds of kilometers away, it actually tells you that it does not make it possible for a free and fair election to take place. And it is on those bases that the Constitutional Council found out that actually there was no free and fair election in such areas.
But why did that same decision was applied throughout the country? Why didn't it affect other areas?
But we answered. The answer is it came here. The Constitutional Council entertained petitions that came to them. If they did not petition, then the results as they are, they stand.
Okay.
And
you wanted
to add something. I should have wanted to add that.
And in that case, the question of polling centers that covers large areas were the province of the Northwest and Southwest regions.
Let me add by saying that
it is different from a polling center you put in Bastos, because they said each polling station should not have more than 500 people, and you come into a quarter and there are 3,000 people, and you put 6 polling stations and you regroup them. The people just walk around and vote in their various, but not the phenomenon that existed in the Northwest and Southwest region as a result of the insecurity that prevails there.
All right.
Yeah, this issue of polling centers, I think the first thing we should acknowledge is that the ELECAM has not quarreled with the decision of the Constitutional Council. In other words, ELECAM as an institutional republic has acknowledged, has accepted, and is recognized that in the rerun they need to do something differently. Whether or not the creation of polling centers was irregular or illegal or so, we all agree with the decision of the Constitutional Council, and I think that it is healthy for democracy and healthy for all of us. The other point I would like to make is that, and you raised the question that the issue that it is the first time that so many constituencies have seen elections cancelled, you know, in the present case, within a single region, within 2 regions. Yes, what that reflects is that the institution charged with the responsibility of serving as authority in establishing the regularity of the election, the legality of the election, which is in our case the Constitutional Council, is expressing its credibility, its integrity, and is looking, it's coming across as a strong institution. In other words, there is institutional, their integrity has been reinforced, their credibility has been reinforced. We always want institutions to be strong and not for individuals to be strong. In this case, the Constitutional Council has shown that it is becoming a very strong institution, as institutions are supposed to be. That is why we're seeing for the first time it's doing such a thing, and we're not quarreling with it. The second thing I would like to raise is that Honorable Madam raised the issue of what if the situation gets worse, and you said, but what if the situation gets better? We all hope, and I don't know of any of us here who wishes that the situation should get worse, because we are patriots. We are people who want to build. The reason why you belong to a political party is that democracy helps the nation get stronger, get better, and we would like the situation to get better. That is why we all, and I'm very glad that all of us here, we took part in the major national dialogue, because we believe that through the major national dialogue, it is going to make us stronger. We hope that the situation will get better. We would like it to get better. The state has promised that it will ensure that it will carry out its regalian duty, and we trust the state. We have faith in the state, and we think it will happen.
We did before the last recently passed elections.
Yes,
we trusted the state. That's why we went in for the election. But alas, what did we do?
1 minute. Good day, Elvis. On our online reactions.
Good day, Joe. Quite a good number of online reactions on this program that is being streamed live on different platforms. We begin straight away with Mary Killer Chain. It says the conflict of second round for election of mayors is just because everything is never clear. I don't see the second chance for many reasons. Nothing with our elections has been straight. And then Cho Waters Aya says actually the conflict is a choice of mayors. It's simply because of credibility, performance, financial security, secured position even after retirement for those incoming mayors already working. And Shika El Khalifa says he appreciates the presence of two critical analysts on the set, and Romadino Bahino Batie salutes the presence of Professor Ngolengole, who says he's going to be telling us about Republican values. Peter Noel says he's welcoming back the program and is hopeful that the panelists are going to enlighten us even more. And Tanyi Divine is wishing that we could carry more information on the incident in Gambo. And Ebert Neville is also in the same light and is glad with the objectivity of the panelists. Okay. And they will conclude with Kome Kilan Emmanuel, who says he's also wishing to have more critical debates like this on the CRTV. Okay.
We'll be coming back on Ngarbu, given that the government has commissioned an inquiry into what happened there. We'll certainly talk about that when the results are made public, and we'll ask the necessary questions. Now, what happens? Parliament is supposed to convene. We have 167 members of Parliament. What happens to the other seats? Do we wait? No, what happens?
Yes, I will. To answer that question, I will want to. Let me go to the municipal elections, how it works, and then I'll come to the legislature so that we see where we go to. What happens with the municipal elections is that petitions are filed before the administrative courts, and then the administrative court rules, the dissatisfied party can appeal to the administrative bench of the Supreme Court. And the law says clearly on municipal elections, during this period, the elected officer stays in office until they rerun. For municipal elections, it is clear. But when we come to legislative elections, there is, by my own appreciation, I think there is a vacuum of the law at that point, because when you go to petitions with regard to the legislative election, it refers us back to Article 132 that handles petitions with regard to presidential elections. Petitions with regard to presidential elections are to the effect that if the presidential election is cancelled, the incumbent stays in office until the new president is voted and sworn in. But now, the new elections or not. Now, I think that the law, the raison d'etre of the law is to the effect that for with regard to presidential election, because the head of state, incumbent head of state, has to convene the electoral college. So if you cancel elections and if he does not have the opportunity to stay in office, then there will be nobody to convene the electoral college. That is why the law gives that special attribute to the head of state to stay in office even if elections are cancelled till the new president is voted and sworn in. But for municipal legislative elections, there is that kind of a legal vacuum.
Okay. Honorable Bandam, what did you people decide in Parliament? Like a former...
Let me tell you...
Yes.
The lacuna that exists in the law and which ought to be corrected differently. Section 168 of the Electoral Code states clearly that in terms of litigation, the elections of members of the National Assembly, litigation is governed by Section 132 to 136. Yeah. And Section 135 sub 3 provides that in the event of annulment, the head of state stays on until a new one is elected and installed. Mutatis mutandis, because that's how we read laws. It is Section 168 which says that those provisions apply to the election of legislative elections.
Okay, which means you're going back to Parliament?
That is what it ought to be. But what we need today is that we need an interpretation by the Constitutional Council somebody has to seize it.
Okay, who
for example,
yes, who would have to take that matter to the Constitutional Council?
That's the point. It's a constitutional matter.
Okay, which means that from what Barrister Mujem was saying, yes,
merely do that once he is installed.
Okay.
In place.
Okay.
So,
which means there is a legal vacuum.
There's a legal vacuum, but it can be filled. I've already given you how it can be filled. Because I just asked you a question a moment ago. If between 20 and 40 days from the annulment of the previous elections, there is a heavy calamity in Cameroon.
No, you're supposed to be giving me solutions, not asking me questions. Yes.
I'm not, it's rhetoric. I know that you don't even have answers to it. But if there were a calamity, if the war were to degenerate and make it practically impossible to hold a rerun within the 20 to 40 days, what would you resort to? The answer is blowing in the wind.
Now, now that Parliament is supposed to reconvene within the 20 to 40 days, the period when they are supposed to be campaigning, will those
Parliament
seats...
is convening on the 10th.
Okay. Will those seats remain vacuum?
That is the question. I've given you a legal analysis.
Okay.
I've referred you to section 168.
Which means the President of the National Assembly should...
That provision of the proviso of section 135 sub 3 ought to apply in terms when it relates to legislative elections. Mutatis mutandis.
Yes, because like you said, if the law, the article refers disputes to be handled or interpreted alongside 132 that deals with presidential elections, means everywhere where you have president, you substitute with parliamentarian. If you put it that way, the honorable is right, which means that the parliamentarians of those constituencies where they annul have to come and sit in parliament.
I still consider myself a parliamentarian. By a true and vigorous interpretation of the electoral code.
Okay.
Let me add,
so you'll be going back to parliament.
Let me add by
next
saying,
couple of days.
Yes, let me add by saying that we're in a state of law. We're in a state of law, and I'm sure that the state of law, the principles of the state of law will apply here. I'm sure the honorable madam knows better than
He's just said it.
That the procedures of the parliament say that the parliamentary business will not stop or be stopped because there is a rerun. I think the parliament will, as he has said, convene on will be convened on the 10th. And the parliamentary
we'll see whether those of them who former MPs will walk there and
will feel like going. Nobody will say.
No. What? No, it shouldn't be an issue of feeling like going. You have the responsibility to represent your people. Yeah. So you should respect the law by going. If that's the interpretation.
Yeah. That's the interpretation.
Well, the issue of quorum is there because
91 you have the quorum, right?
They have the quorum, so they can sit without the 11 constitution with the 13 parliamentarians.
Well, because it worked out.
The parliament can sit and deliberate.
There's a procedure in place, which is...
No, it's not at the level of working out. It's at the level of what the law says, given that elections have been cancelled.
The law is a question, like you are saying, is a question whether are they still parliamentarians or not. That is the question.
No, he has said they still remain parliamentarians as per the interpretation of existing laws.
That this interpretation ought to be adopted by the Constitutional Council. And we need to seize the Constitutional Council. And one of those who can do that is the President of the National Assembly, the President of the Republic, or 1/3 of the members of the National Assembly for directives.
Okay.
And I said this will become really critical if between the 20 and 40 days something happens that you cannot rerun the elections.
Okay.
I think will be rerun. I have no doubt that
we have come to the end of our program, and we just started. It started up today like a diesel engine, and I'm sure when it gets heated on press R, you'll have it. And thank all of you who reacted. We're looking forward to being with you again same time next week when we meet again. Stay on CRTV if you can. Tam Tam Weekend is following shortly on the main channel, and news continues on CRTV News.